Good morning, Year 10. How you doing? Okay, so this is just a little extra video just to go on with Monday's lesson. I think I mentioned in the other vid, either watch this if you're struggling for ideas, or just watch it at the end and go, oh yeah, I did pick all that stuff up. Anyways, all I want to do here is just talk through some of the things I noticed in that extract. And yeah, it's not to say these are all great ideas, not to say these are the only ideas, just some stuff I saw. So anyway, let's get going. Hopefully it won't take too long. So first thing, as I said before, I think it's important that you highlight that chapter 8 is so important, particularly in terms of if this is a question about the conclusion, and it is about the conclusion, the climax of the novel, then yep, the fact that it's chapter 8 is massively important, okay, because that's where the story ends. Okay, so just working through this, so a few things that I think are important. So first of all, let's talk about, in terms of the drama and the tension, the climax of this piece. So I've got some really powerful vocabulary here, certainly the first half. Okay, first paragraph: swung the axe, shook the building, the door leaped, up went the axe again. Really powerful, quite violent vocabulary. So there, violent vocabulary. Okay, and like I say, the imagery is powerful here as well. Remember, you should be writing about what Stevenson as a writer does. So, Stevenson's use of the powerful imagery of the axe swinging, or Stevenson's violent vocabulary choices here. Blah blah blah. Okay. Now this contrasts starkly. I wonder if I've got this here. Yeah, ace. This contrasts starkly when I reach here. I think I've got a bit of a turning point. Two turning points in this extract, I think. The first is here, because my first paragraph has been all this violence, and finally that violence culminates with the lock burst and the wreck of the door fell inwards. Okay, and then there is such a shift in the vocabulary choices, whereas before it was leaped, shook, can't remember what was up there, but swung the axe maybe. Now I get stillness, quiet, neatly, it's all peace. This second paragraph seems so domestic. It's quite a beautiful image in many ways. Well, it is until you get to the next paragraph anyway. So the vocabulary choices here, what have I put there? So such a contrast to the violence before. Yeah, and in terms of the question, dramatic climax, well, actually, the effect this has on the reader, I don't know about you, but this seems to me almost anticlimactic, because we've got, as I say, I know I keep going on about it, all this explosive language here, and then suddenly we get appalled by their own riot and the stillness that succeeded, stood back and peered in, and it's beautiful. I expect so much violence to follow on from it, and it's just not there. Even the way it's structured, actually, finishing that paragraph with this door falling inwards, there's almost a forced, because of the placing of that at the end of a paragraph, there's almost a forced moment's rest for the reader. Okay, so we've got here lovely, this good fire glowing and chattering on the hearth. The imagery there is quite domestic. It's almost personified, really, isn't it? But it's beautiful, and again, just the contrast for what's gone before. And this really is, there's only 3 paragraphs here, but it is such a contrasting. I said there were 2 turning points. I think that is the first, somewhere between these first 2, and then obviously the second place. Right before I get there, actually, is that this commonplace, and referring to the room as the most commonplace. Again, it emphasises the quietness. The second turning point is just at the start of here. Okay, having given me violence, lovely glowing fire, kettle boiling, it's lovely peace and quiet. And then suddenly, again, the reader is shocked, because just when they thought it was okay, the reader is told that actually right in the middle there lay the body of a man. So again, the narrative perspective. If you think again what I've said about narrative perspective and view it as what a camera chooses to show us as readers, well, I mean, I suspect that if you burst into this room and there was a dying man on the floor, that would be the first thing you'd notice. But Stevenson chooses not to tell us that straight away. Okay, he hides that. He makes us wait for it until he's really ready to show us. So Stevenson's use of the narrative perspective here is very effective. Okay, what have I got here? So, beheld the face of Edward Hyde. Okay, in terms of a dramatic climax, a dramatic conclusion, you know, the emphatically positioning Edward Hyde's name as this body. You know, first of all, we're told it's the body of a man. Only afterwards, we're told it's the body of Edward Hyde. Again, it gives it extra emphasis. And in terms of a conclusion, well, let's not forget that here I am now seeing the death of, as far as we know, one of our eponymous protagonists of the novel. And with the eponymous protagonist dying, that sounds to me like the conclusion. Okay. Alright, so there's a few things that I noticed. Maybe you noticed more. I'm sure there is more that you could have said. But like I say, if you noticed any of those, give yourself a pat on the back. You're definitely going along the right direction.